Live from New York. This show, it's also going back-to-back. Back-to-back good shows.
Oh, back-to-back. Yeah. Are you talking about for us or for you? Like for the collective or you personally?
Okay. Me personally.
You personally,
Let's see if you can get
Yeah, you're on a one-show
have
streak.
been excellent. Minus your David Duvall talk.
Oh, it was my God.
You crushed.
Everybody got the reference.
Nobody got it. We start with a savage performance from Trey Savage. 12 strikeouts, no walks. Ices the Dodgers, gets some help with 2 home runs in the first to send the series back to Toronto. Savage has played in all levels, A, AA, AAA. He's had more postseason starts than regular season starts, and he's crushing. What is the number one reason the Dodgers are down 3-2?
The Blue Jays are better than them?
It's a hot take.
I know it seems like a scorching
Nobody's
hot
saying
take.
that. You're right.
And the Dodgers do have a figurative, if not almost literal, all-star team. I get that. But it's not a small sample size sport. They play 162 games. And I understand the Dodgers had an incredible run differential. I think almost double the run differential of the Blue Jays. But the reason the Blue Jays have home field is because the Blue Jays had a better record in the regular season. The Dodgers, what their starting pitching was doing leading into the World Series felt to me unsustainable because it was being compared to the greatest postseason performances from some of the greatest staffs of all time. When you're bringing up your favorite guy, Christy Mathewson. And you know the 01 Diamondbacks with they were the Diamondbacks then. They're the Snakes now. With Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling, and so that was to me bound to come back down to earth. The Blue Jays have been incredibly consistent offensively, save for the first 2 games of the ALCS this entire postseason, and they just don't seem rattleable. I know that's not a word, but I mean the fact that I really did look at what the story about Vladdy after losing the 18-inning game, when he's like, guys, they got to win 4. Turn the music on. We're fine, as really impressive and noteworthy. And I just think they have, through 5 games, they've been better because they have soundly won 3 of them. They've soundly lost 1, and there was 1 game that was the definition of a coin flip game.
Yeah, look, I'm not ready to write off the Dodgers. Hopefully they can work a miracle and win these 2 games in Toronto. That was my pick. But along the lines, the hitting and watching, and I guess you could go the opposite way and say the pitching, but I'm saying the hitting of the Blue Jays. Watching them in the ALCS against Seattle, I was just like, man, these dudes hit the ball. They can hit.
And against the Yankees, too.
Yes.
In the ALDS.
And they led. Look, this is along, like what you were saying, they had the best batting average in the league during the regular season, best on-base percentage. Obviously, that's not only hitting, but still. In the playoffs, they've had the best batting average by a mile. They've hit 284 in the playoffs, which is almost 20 points better than they hit in the regular season. It is rare to see a team, you know, they say you're clutch when you kind of play as great as you do in the regular season in the playoffs.
Right, not if
you don't
you
have
raise
to go
it, if
another
you just
level.
stay.
You just stay because you're obviously facing better competition. They have gone up almost 20 points batting average in the playoffs, and then obviously in this series they have the better batting average. They average 4.9 runs a game in the regular season. It's 6.2 in these playoffs. They've got 5 guys in this series hitting 300 or better. The Dodgers have 2. And so they're hitting of the ball. And again, I know you could just say pitching, but I just think as a team, they are an excellent hitting team. It's not just homers, but it's getting on base, it's manufacturing runs. So that is the difference right now. And obviously the Dodgers have gone in the tank as far as hitting the baseball the last few games.
Savage had just another spectacular game. He'd probably get my vote for World Series MVP now. You get 2 wins and like 2 big wins. Had 12 strikeouts.
By the way,
I like Vladdy, but he's been
just
great.
So you know the odds. If you were to bet that and he were to win it, it's like 40-1.
Was Vladdy?
Vladdy is minus 200.
Yeah.
Shohei's plus 230. and Yamamoto is 16-1, with the idea being if
I guess so.
Yamamoto
Does
throws another
what he
complete
does.
game
Okay.
tomorrow. But
Who
go
would
ahead,
you
sorry.
go with right now?
Right now it's Vlad.
Savage. Yeah, I think it's Vlad.
Right, to me, but I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, I would take the 2.
I get it.
No, he's been great.
I take
yeah.
the 2 wins.
He
has
50-1,
He struck out every member of the Dodgers, 12
which
in
is
all.
crazy.
It's great. And then, he struck out Ohtani. His helmet fell off, which we'll talk about Ohtani here. He goes hitless in back-to-back nights. Take a look at this full screen, Brew. So he's been red hot and a little bit cold. In the NLCS Game 4 and then the Marathon Game, 7 for 7. That's 1,000. 5 home runs. In the 13 other games, 8 for 53, batting 151. 3 home runs. So do you think this postseason has helped or hurt Ohtani's legacy so far?
I don't even think it's even arguable. I get that he's struggled in some games. The best game ever in the ALCS closeout, a 9 on base in the World Series, like 2 homers, 2 doubles. I think the question is, does it hurt his boat case, which I've been pushing. I don't think it's arguable that it's hurt his legacy. Like, do you?
No, I was going to say the exact same thing. I think this is when you have 2 of the greatest games ever. You can't say it. You went backwards legacy-wise, but in the effort to become the greatest player of all time, that standard's different. So go ahead.
And you throw in that he pitched, and even when he lost the other night, he wasn't bad. I mean, that'll get lost over time. Yeah. Obviously, people won't look at the details, but he wasn't bad. But in the boat, to me, the best player I've ever seen other than Ohtani or before Ohtani was Barry Bonds. And we know Barry Bonds was not phenomenal in the playoffs. So my point is that I don't think, you have to have some moments in the playoffs, and obviously Ohtani has already had them. Bonds was great in the World Series, the one World Series he was in, but they lost. But he hit like 471. Yeah. I mean,
that postseason, he has the highest OPS of any postseason
1.9, I think, was his OPS.
1.6. We were talking about it yesterday. 1.65. He had 75 plate appearances. He had 27 walks. It was absurd
in that
what he
postseason.
Did. In that postseason.
That World Series, it was 1.9. It was ridiculous. But outside of that, Bonds hit the rest of his playoffs. I think he hit 216. In all of his other playoff games combined. So A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, great in 2009 in leading the Yankees to the World Series. Before that or after, outside of that, he had been viewed as he's got to get it done in the playoffs. So, and I even think Aaron Judge this year kind of erased that notion that he's not big in the playoffs. He was phenomenal. So I just think the nature of baseball, it's a sport of failure. We know if you get a hit 30% of the time, you're a Hall of Famer. So look at Mookie Betts. Nobody's ever going to say he's not been great in the postseason or a clutch player, but he's having a horrible postseason at the plate this year. Babe Ruth that's if some people want to say he's the GOAT.
Well, I think a lot of people say
my argument with him is he didn't play all the best players at his time. Sure. That's a racial segregation at that time and all that. But his numbers are just, phenomenal in the World Series. But it was different. They only played in the World Series in the playoffs. There were no other playoff games. So I don't think, I think, Nick, and I'll leave it here, when we talk about guys not getting it done in the playoffs, I think we all can understand great players having bad games. I think what is the indictment on players, and this is somewhat subjective, but is when the feeling is that a guy melted down or choked. Like the moment was too big. And the fact that Ohtani's had 2 of the best games ever, obviously the moment is not too big. You can just say he's struggling or he's in a slump these last few games. But I think he's moved past that.
So I'm just going to be totally honest. I kind of hate this image, has it helped or hurt his legacy? Because the snapshot of it feels cliche and kind of silly, but I actually love the conversation because I think it is a really, really interesting one-of-one kind of data set, which is we do have arguably the 2 greatest postseason performances of my or maybe anyone's lifetime by the same player within a week's time.
Yeah.
the three for 3 with 3 bombs while striking out 10. Nothing has ever approached it to clinch the World Series. And then game 3, where you just go double home run, and then the other team waves uncle, and they walk you 5 times and your team ends up taking a 2-1 lead in the World Series. Either of those performances are something akin to the baseball equivalent of a 100-point game by Wilt, except it was in the NLCS and the World Series. But everything else this postseason and most of last postseason has been really underwhelming.
Well, I give him a pass.
Okay, I did too, because last postseason he was dealing with the hurt shoulder, remember? So that's fine. But this postseason as a whole. And so I think it's very clear it's not the moment's too big for him, because in some of the biggest moments he's had maybe the greatest games ever played. But I do think that if you are trying to become the greatest in the history of a sport, that if they don't win this World Series, it is going to be in part because Mookie and Shohei were not that good. And I know Shohei was unbelievable in Game 3. I mean, he was throughout the series, that Shohei he pitched fine, but not great when he pitched. That at this point, 4 of the 5 games, he has not made a real impact with his bat. And Mookie, which is not who we're talking about here, has not been great either. Like you were saying, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't put a real ding in their overall legacy. I agree. But it certainly doesn't, to me, elevate. If we are going to have a real Shohei Ohtani or Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani or Barry Bonds, Shohei Ohtani or, I don't know, whomever, Ted Williams or Hank Aaron, whomever, Willie Mays, people argue is the greatest player ever. I don't think that this got him closer if they lose. If they lose and he's not, you know what I mean, even he's not good in Game 6 or 7, does that, I don't know where you land on this, KW. I'm not trying to be unfair, and this is not like a hot take thing. I think it's really interesting in how we are trying to weigh transcendent performances versus day-to-day impact.
Well, when you're doing GOAT, and this comes up with Jordan, LeBron, you're nitpicking. So this might feel like you're like, it's little things, because they're all phenomenal. So it's just little differences that separate. That's why I brought up Bonds. I don't know. I'd have to look at Willie Mays. Yep. Babe Ruth's postseason numbers are ridiculous. So that would be a check mark in his box. But I don't know. I mean, Bonds, it wouldn't work. This wouldn't work against him.
And again, it's not apples to apples, but I'm trying to think of other sport hypotheticals. If in 9 years, Wemby really is in the GOAT discussion, he could get there. And
9 months.
And there's 9 months. But there's an NBA Finals where in Game 3 of the Finals, he has 55, 25, 15 blocks, 8 steals, 7 assists. And in the other 6 games, he plays well below his season averages and they lose. I don't think people would say that helped him become the GOAT. Right. Now, basketball is different because one player, but do you follow what I'm saying? It just feels a little
the nature
weird.
Of the sport is different.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the amazing performances will stay and the other stuff will burn off.
Do you think it'll stay if they don't win?
It'll only be, they'll stay. Because again, baseball, when you talk about GOAT in baseball, World Series aren't, Barry Bonds doesn't have a World Series.
No, and neither does Ted Williams.
Right, so it's just
think of
a different
all-time
sport.
great moments for losing teams are it's a strange
I do think, Brew, that for a lot of people, Barry Bonds' World Series is not top of mind because they lost, even though, to your point, it was one of the greatest individual runs ever.
Carlton Fisk, no one's saying Carlton Fisk is the best ever. But
I think of that,
when I was growing up,
Absolutely.
when I was little and I saw that, I was like, oh, we won that one. It's like a famous home run. Like, no, we actually
still
lost the
remember
series.
that.
Why is it it's one of the few all-time baseball moments when the team I think it's more, I don't even know what the Reds moment is. It's just the Carlton Fisk home run. It's time now for your daily update. Don't go yet. You did.
What? What was the update?
Teams in the Blue Jays position win 67% of the time headed home.
KW, we know.
No, I'm sorry, I was wrong. 74%.
We know that.
Well, I got thrown off.
It was 70% after game 3.
74% of the time headed home. Head down to Miami.
Their practice facility is interesting. It looks like they're just out in the middle of the woods. And you see the Chiefs, or any teams mostly. It's like you see the lines and
There's just no
goalposts. They're just out there.
My flag practice in a local park. We don't have the permits for it. They're playing the Dolphins, who looked bad pretty much all year, except last week. Let's take a look at how Tua did last week. Hello, came alive.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, guess who else played well? The defense. Guess who else played well? The running game. Brew, are you worried at all about tonight's game?
I expect the Ravens to romp, okay? Now, I will say this.
Uh-oh.
If this were a typical Ravens year, where they're 2-5, say they're 5-2 or 6-1,
You would think they could split the bit here.
Well, no.
Oh.
I would have I'm 99.8% sure right now.
Okay.
Because, in a typical Ravens year, I would be like, no way, they're wiping the Dolphins out, right? But because Lamar is coming back, rusty, I expect him to play well, but I guess that's a possibility that he doesn't. And then the defense is two good games, but they've been bad for 5. So I'm just being honest.
Are the Dolphins hot? Did the Dolphins play their best?
To me, the Dolphins have nothing to do with this. Okay. This is all about what the Ravens do. It really is. Like, this is. Tyreek Hill is not walking through that door. Like, this is all about if the Ravens show up, they're going to rout the Dolphins. If they don't, it'll be a close game. I can't see them losing. But my point is just this. A year ago, there's absolutely not even a smidgen of question in me. Now there is a little smidgen just because we've seen the Ravens be so vulnerable. But I expect a blowout.
You want to go, KW?
No, because Brew said there's, just a smidgen. I am saying they should be very worried, and we have the same rationale.
Here.
One, are we getting Lamar at 100%?
No.
I don't think anyone's going to say yes. He wasn't ready to go on Sunday. Now it's Thursday. So maybe he went from can't play to 100%. I think he went from can't play to can play, but not 100%. 3, is the defense fixed? They've been okay 2 games. The Dolphins have been okay 1 game. So I don't think it's a huge leap to say the Dolphins were okay 1 game. Maybe
culture, KW.
What's Mike McDaniel's culture?
It ain't defense.
It's offense. It's throwing the ball around with Tua. And they've been successful without Tyreek Hill. The whole offense is not super, all on Tyreek Hill.
They got speed.
They scored 34, and the running game got going. The other thing I would be worried about, how do you disrupt the Dolphins' offense? Get to Tua, sack Tua. Tua needs to get the ball. Which team has the second fewest sacks in the NFL?
Ravens. Yeah, so
I'd be worried.
Okay. So I don't know. I'm not going to go as far as worried, but I'm certainly would not be as confident as Brew is.
99.8.
99.8. Not quite 99.9, but a nice healthy 99.8 is where Brew is. So first I want to talk about the Lamar piece of it. Because I do think it's possible Lamar's 100%. I do think it's...
Are you fully convinced? This is kind of a joke, tongue in cheek. Are you fully convinced he's playing?
I am fully convinced he's playing because he has put voice to it. Right. But most players, if they weren't ready Sunday, I would be like, they are going to be, nowhere close to 100% on Thursday. Lamar's an interesting one because I believe the Ravens team and Ravens team doctors thought he was healthy enough to play Sunday and didn't. So he might have been 85% Sunday, which would mean he could be close to 100% today. So it's not so much about how healthy is he at this point, because I don't think Lamar plays if he's not healthy. I think there's a long history of that. it is how rusty is he going to be. And I know he said that's what practice is for when he was asked about that. But last week, he did not fully practice, and today's Thursday. So, like, you don't have real, like, the full practice schedule between Sunday to Thursday when you play Thursday night games. So I don't think Lamar is going to be as sharp as usual, which you would then typically be like, well, he can still be deadly with his legs, but coming off a hamstring injury, I think he would be less likely to lean into his legs. So I think that is a legitimate concern. I also, as someone that bet Atlanta -7.5 against Miami and then watched Miami trounce them, was really impressed by the Dolphins last week because I thought they were going to have quit.
The Falcons have a decent defense.
Correct. That's what I was going to get to. Like, so much of that game narratively was Kirk Cousins is done. Mm-hmm. But they still had Bijan, and the Falcons' pass defense had been really good, and Tua had 6 incompletions and 4 touchdowns for a team that I honestly thought was just like 1, 2, 3 Cancun already. Like, our coach is getting fired, we're out of here. So those two factors, Lamar's health and the Dolphins all of a sudden showing a pulse, if I were you, Brew, would give me a little bit of pause. Your 99.8, I would say, should be closer to like 85 to 90%.
Wow.
Yeah.
85? That's not much.
I mean, Brew, it's a 1-6 favorite. I mean, that's a lot. But what I will say, you are setting yourself up that if the Ravens just squeak by with a win, you're not going to be able to be all
we're stacking
bravado
W's
tomorrow.
At this point.
Okay.
I agree. There will be no robe. I don't expect the robe anyway. Because if they blow them out, I'm going to come in here and
Yes,
go.
you should.
Yeah.
Really? Yes. Brew,
The Dolphins? What's the Dolphins' record?
Same as the Ravens.
Okay. But they didn't lose to the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Bills.
I don't know.
Heck, I think it's on the board that if the Ravens had a normal schedule to start the season where they weren't playing the juggernauts, they might have a winning record at this point, even without Lamar.
Just you're big on, what are they called? Memojis?
Yeah.
When it's like your own character.
The guy and Bruce, the one that you sent me where you're all nervous.
Get those ready, though. Get those ready for the group chat.
Please.
Get those ready. Opponents have scored on 53% of their possessions against the Ravens. So
Y'all just will not believe in the defense.
No.
Coach Mangini is here. We're talking about tarantulas.
We are.
Chiefs down to just 1.5-point favorites. The line moved on this.
Yeah, but it's open. It was 1.5, 2.5, back to 1.5. So it's back to where it opened.
It's an odd storyline in this game. We're kicking around since Josh dominates the regular season, but he's never beaten Patrick in the playoffs. Do you think Josh needs a statement game Sunday afternoon?
Well, yes, particularly if he wants to, not just because of production, but based on not just because of projection, but based on production, be a legitimate MVP candidate. Because right now he's got the second best MVP odds, despite not having an MVP caliber season. And this is a guy who I thought last year he was the league MVP. Yeah. I have been very pro Josh Allen on this show the last couple of years.
But it wasn't necessarily numbers driven.
Well,
I agree.
Right. Last year, the Josh MVP case last year was complicated because the Lamar MVP case the year before was complicated. But regardless, my point is I'm not someone that's always like, he's not the MVP. Yeah. I thought he was last year. This year, though, he was awesome in week 1. He then didn't need to be awesome in week 2. And then in week 3 against the Dolphins on national television, played a game at such a high level. Some people thought he was playing the position at the highest level anyone's ever played in the history of the sport. And since then, he hasn't been good. He's played 4 games, lost 2 of them, 1 of them directly because of some of his mistakes. And last week, I'm not going to bang him for it because they won 40-9, but that was the James Cook game. And if you put up Josh's numbers with season ranks, what you see is he's having a fine season. The rushing touchdowns are helping him a lot, and I put those at the bottom. But from a passing perspective, he's been fine, and he's not doing an unbelievable job the way Coach liked last year on taking care of the football. He's been fine at that, and so I think he needs a statement game personally if he cares about having a real shot at being MVP. And I think for the Bills, team-wise, their only path to winning is scoring 30 points because I don't think that defense is going to hold the Chiefs under. I think they'd sign up for 27 for Kansas City right now.
Oh, wow.
I think if it's like, hey, we guarantee you they're going to score 27 but not a point more, they'd sign up for it. So for both those reasons, I say yes.
When I went back and looked at Josh Allen, so my biggest thing, or the thing I think pushed him over the edge of the MVP, was the fact that he can control the turnovers. And then this year we know in the last 4 games alone, it's been 10 touchdowns, 5 turnovers, dramatically different than what we saw the year before. So just going back and looking at his interceptions from this season, really there's 2 interceptions where he's going to the right place with the ball, he's under a little bit of pressure, he just gets it off late, and the guy makes a great play. So it's hard to ding him because he wasn't trying to be a superhero in those situations. And 2 of the other interceptions, one was late in the half where they were trying to get into field goal range and he had to press it. One was late in the game where it got batted down. So when you go back and look at kind of his body of work through the season, he's not back on the roller coaster, which I think is really good. And I don't think this has to be a statement game because that's where he could get in trouble. If he goes out and tries to chase points, tries to chase opportunities, he's made a few throws that could have been better, but they weren't horrible with the picks. So just go and do what you've been doing and don't try to turn this into something that could implode, especially against a really opportunistic Kansas City defense.
Well, I think he has to have a statement game for them to win. And his statement games look different. His statement game might be 2 running touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, and 240 yards passing or something. Like, he doesn't throw for the ton of yards anymore. You know, he's got 1 300-yard passing game this year, 4 in the last 2 years, and we know when they got back to elite status, it was because they took the ball out of his hands. Last week was kind of typical, you know, particularly against not teams that aren't great. A lot of run. Josh just manages things, makes a couple big plays. But you alluded to it earlier. The thing, like, because he's beaten Patrick so much in the regular season and then lost to him every time in the postseason, it does put just a tad. I'm still obviously excited about the game, but a little bit of a damper, because even if the Bills win, it'll still feel like, okay, this is what they do, but in the playoffs, you got to like the Chiefs. I think the only type of game that would make me sit up and take note would be if they blew the Chiefs out. Now, they did that in 2021, right? 38-20, they beat them in the regular season. Then that's when they lost in the 13-second game. But that was obviously the closest they were to the Chiefs. And I don't expect a blowout, but that would be the only type of game, Coach. I don't care how Allen plays. If they don't blow him out, I'm going to be like, okay, good win, but it's not going to really change my thoughts on the
they
two
haven't
teams.
beaten anybody with a winning record. I mean, the best win they've had is a team that's 500.
Right, so if they win
Kansas City, at this point, to me, that's where the significance is this is actually a legitimately good team that they could have not a signature win where they have to blow them out, but it's different than the other wins they've gotten so far.
So I think these are almost 2 separate things. I do think when evaluating how good is Buffalo, beating Kansas City in this spot would be that signature win and be like, okay.
I agree with that.
They're legit.
I agree with that.
They're legit.
Yeah.
I think Bruce saying even if that happened, if these 2 teams met in the playoffs, you wouldn't likely be like, well, Buffalo beat them in the regular season, so therefore.
Right, but at least you can walk away from the game saying these guys are probably going to the playoffs. And I don't know, right?
The Bills?
Well, it's just.
I mean, you think if they lose, I'm not thinking, oh man, they might not make the playoffs.
Well, it looks like they're going to struggle winning the division. They lose another game the way New England's been playing. It's not a slam dunk by any stretch.
I do think the loser of this game is, and that's what makes this game, because I agree with you, Brew, there is an element of anticlimactic nature of these regular season matchups because it has been part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this movie have been the exact same beats of it. It would be, it's you lose in the regular season and you win in the playoffs for the Chiefs. What is different about this one is the loser of this game is going to be in a real uphill battle to win their own division.
Right.
If the Chiefs, I'll play it from the other side. If the Chiefs lose this game, they're 4-4. And, we'll see what Denver does this weekend and what the Chargers do this weekend. If the Patriots have the Falcons, right?
Yep.
They're 5-point favorites. Let's just assume the Patriots win. I don't know if they will, but let's assume they win. They get to 7-2, and the Bills drop to 5-3, having lost already to New England once. Their odds of winning, I would imagine they would no longer be the favorites to win the division. Like right now, the Chiefs are the favorites to win the AFC West despite being in third place, and the Bills are the favorites to win the AFC East despite being in second place. I would imagine the loser of this weekend's game will no longer be the favorites in their own division, barring the teams ahead of them also losing. So those to me are real stakes, especially if I can just spin it one little tiny more piece forward. The top wild card team in the AFC is staring down the barrel at a trip to whoever wins the AFC North. Now, maybe that's a nice, easy game against a bad Steelers defense and 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Or maybe that's a game against a red-hot Baltimore Ravens team and Lamar Jackson in their building. So there are real stakes in that regard to this football game.
The story around the Cowboys has followed their statistical profile. Great offense, bad defense. Thus, one side of the ball is to blame for their mediocre record. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Here are the statistics. Second in points, second in total yards, first in passing yards. The defense, 31st.
This is a hilarious graphic.
That's ridiculous.
That's just first or second, and then second to last or last in everything.
Coach, what is your take on Schottenheimer's?
Yeah, I thought it was eloquently put. When Brian was my offensive coordinator, there were times where I'm sure he really enjoyed those offensive stats he had, and they were really important to him. But then when you get moved up to the head coaching job, you realize that those aren't significant. And collectively, the goal is to win the game. And I do think it's not an unfair question, but it's not a great question when you ask Brian that, understanding that he's running the offense, because it makes it look like that's all he cares about. That's what's most important to him. Hey, as long as my offense looks good, I'm okay if we lose games. And that couldn't be further from the truth for him. And as good of a season as Dak is having, I'm sure he's tired of hearing the same old story of, can't win big games, can't win the playoffs, can't go to the NFC Championship game. He'd like to end that.
I do think Dak, though, would like to win the MVP.
Oh,
They're not mutually exclusive. We know he wants to win a Super Bowl, too, but, he'd love to win that, too. I think you hit it on the head, Coach. Like, Schottenheimer, and I don't know him personally, obviously you do. I think he's done a good job. But I also think, and again, I think overall he has done a very good job. But I think he's kind of getting a pass for the defense. And I get it, he's an offensive guy. It's not his side of the ball. But like you said, he's the head coach now. And so ultimately, if that defense is terrible, it does land at his door, whether it's changes in personnel, getting on the coaches, getting rid of some coaches, whatever it might be. It might not be fixable, but he's got to do whatever he can to fix it, because that, like you said, Nick, that graphic, that just can't be for a team that has hopes of making the playoffs. And so he does have to do whatever he can to at least get that defense to be respectable.
Right, which right now I don't know that they have the horses for it. And I do think that if there is a coach that has to wear this the most, it's the defensive coordinator. It's Matt Eberflus. I really respect what Schottenheimer, because Coach Mangini has always said, you are the head coach of the entire team. You don't get to just be like, this is my carve out. And so, yes, he does have to wear it. But I have been most impressed this year from the Dallas Cowboys by Dak Prescott. I've been second most impressed, if I'm grading on a curve, by my expectation from George Pickens. And I've been third most impressed by Brian Schottenheimer. I think Schottenheimer has done a really good job. And I think that he does get some credit for elevating Dak, in my opinion, to a level. I think this is the best football Dak's played, last week notwithstanding. And I think we will judge him more fully as a head coach once because it's not just that they traded Micah. It's also now all the injuries in the secondary, including The very weird Trayvon Diggs injury that I understand, if anyone actually reports on it, you'll no longer be on the group text to tell us which college free agent signed with the team. But I'd like to know what happened to Trayvon Diggs. And so you're injured, you traded away your best player, all those things. You would like to see some improvement over the course of the year, but I think Schottenheimer's been one of the brighter spots for the Cowboys this year.
And in fairness to Matt Eberflus, over and over on this set and every other set across the country, people have talked about the trade of Micah Parsons and the impact. Does he become a better defensive coordinator if he has Micah Parsons?
Yes.
Yeah, but he's really the same defensive coordinator. He just, when you lose a piece like that, and then you do have the injuries that you have, and look, I would imagine that they're spending every waking moment trying to figure out ways to improve that defense. One of the things you can do as a head coach is you can slow the game down. But now if you realize your only chance is to score a bunch of points, do you want to take rhythm away from your offense to try to slow the game down because you know that your defense is so vulnerable?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.